From the moment you boot up Dusk, you are greeted with a DOS-like prompt that to those of us who grew up gaming in the 90s would be all too familiar with. From that point on, you know you're in for what is quite possibly one of the most wonderfully written and composed love letters to 90s-era first-person shooters quite possibly ever made. Everything from its atmosphere to the moment-to-moment gameplay, and even the heavy metal soundtrack done by Andrew Holsholt, who has a direct understanding of what makes soundtracks in games like Doom just click. Dusk is an achievement, fit for 1999, and I mean that as a huge compliment. As of right now, Dusk only has one episode available to play, until its full release later on this year, or as they say, when it's done. But what's currently available is a testament to excellent game design, level design, and pacing. Games like Strafe most recently tried to nail that 90s vibe, generating a lot of hype for people like me, only to be given a lukewarm response, because unfortunately, no amount of randomly generated tile sets will ever have the soul of a handcrafted map. What you're seeing being played right now is my first few moments of Dusk, fresh, virgin footage as I am dropped headlong into the game, something a few games outside of Doom 2016 managed to nail. As I figure out my surroundings and how the game feels, I suddenly discover a real familiarity with not only the controls but the movement as well. Enhanced Quake 3 strafe jumping is really the only way to describe it. It's faster and it's more comfortable as well, meaning anybody who has experience with Quake's movement will find themselves quite at home. Dusk takes its biggest cues from Quake 2. In terms of design, it's very thoughtful and deliberate, compared to Quake 1's more labyrinthian mashups of Lovecraftian horror and dystopian sci-fi. This takes on a distinctly creepy vibe, set in the American Northeast, presumably in Pennsylvania, which offers something akin to if Blood, Redneck, Rampage, and Heretic had some sort of contorted love child, even sometimes reaching for inspiration from Half-Life in terms of design of the later enemies and areas in the first episode. The reason why games like Quake, Doom, Rise of the Triad, Duke Nukem, and other prestigious 90s-era shooters were so huge is that they were at the bleeding edge, the predecessors of modern gaming as we know it. Quake brought 3D movement to the masses, true polygonal 3D worlds that felt tangible and solid, whereas Doom, Wolfenstein, Duke Nukem, they brought first-person shooters to the forefront of the world's PC gamers, and made people with SNESes and Genesises and ZX Spectrums, or ZX Spectrums for my friends over across the pond, and other 8-bit and 16-bit console owners of the era green with envy, and pined to be able to play the games that only us PC owners could truly enjoy. You weren't cool unless you were playing an id Software or 3D Realms title on a 486 or a Pentium machine. Dusk owes a lot of its creation to its forefathers, but while it resembles the former great titles, it does stand on its own 2 feet just fine. Crisp, tight controls combined with a fantastic core gameplay loop, with interesting and moody settings ranging from the depths of a farmhouse to a sleepy abandoned town where something isn't quite right to even a military base. Interesting and fun enemies to fight are strewn throughout and combined with some truly surprising moments that packed in that first of 3 episodes. In a modern day and age of waypoints, funneling hallways, and winding tunnels, Dusk breathes in a refreshing sense of discovery, as well as a charming and brutal level design, with surprises aplenty. I guarantee just in the first episode alone, there will be more than a few moments that startle you, or at the bare minimum catch you with your pants down. Weapon selection is well designed, each having a specific purpose and tiered in such a way that makes sense, and makes each weapon feel like it has a designated role. All too often, we have an Assault Rifle A or Assault Rifle Z that basically all fill the same need. Dusk goes for a more old-school approach, the shotgun being your all-purpose boomstick of badass, and the super shotgun doubling up that role for larger, more intimidating foes. There's dual wielding to be found here too for shotguns, pistols, and the like, and the assault rifles for mowing down rows of weaker baddies, and the hunting rifle fitting the railgun role rather well. Despite Dusk being made by a small indie team, it outshines a lot of what modern studios do or attempt to do by looking at achievements from the past and trying to expand on what made those things good. Instead of just rehashing the same ideas, Dusk finds a way to carve its own niche in the market, appealing to both old-school shooter fans like myself and garnering attention from those who may have never experienced these types of games before. With games like Doom 2016, the Wolfenstein reboots, and other post-retro revamps coming back into favor, we will possibly see a resurgence of interest in arena and Quake-esque shooters, and I'm all for that. I see Dusk becoming a massive success in its own right for its core audience. A game that has nostalgia at its core, but quickly shows its own game. I have no trouble recommending this $20 title for anybody who has a love for first-person shooters, fast movement, and Twitch-esque gameplay. You won't regret your purchase, I promise.